Well, hey everybody, welcome into the show, and let's talk about watches. My name is Tim, and along with Mike Davis, we are the co-founders of TalkAboutWatches.com. Tonight we're going to talk about a remarkable opportunity. In fact, it's by far the single best opportunity that we've encountered on 3/9 fine, solid, precious metal that is incorporated into a wristwatch. Of course, we're referring to the Croton, I guess it's known as the Silver American Eagle wristwatch. And for those of you who already have the information, you've gotten the email or you're a part of the private group on Facebook and so on, all the final pricing is there, and you guys should go ahead and start those orders right now. We're going to get to the watch officially in a few minutes. Prior to that, I want to talk a little bit about the Basel Watch Fair. You may be able to hear the voice. It's on the way to recovery, but actually blew it out from talking to so many different fans of wristwatches and vendors and brands that are interested in working with Talk About Watches. So did blow it out, but for a really good reason. I had a great meeting with the CEO of one of the most famous watch brands in the world, and I'm thrilled to say that shortly before putting this show together for you guys, that we have gotten more than a verbal, and we are going to be able to put together an amazing deal that we'll be talking about, hopefully in the next few days, but certainly I would think in the next week to 2 weeks max. We're going to talk a lot more about that, and we're pretty excited about it. We also had a chance to meet with some of the boutique brands, and some of which we're going to be sharing with you right now. In fact, one of the things that I want to do is not only talk about Basel, but I also want to talk about the experience of attending Basel World, what it's like. So we've got a little bit of footage we'll share along those lines. One of the things I want to talk about immediately, as we reported from last year as an example, that attendance was down rather dramatically. And what they've done to combat that, and it looks like it worked, was they shortened the show. The show is only 5 days, so it's down several days from the original concept, and down from 7 pavilions to 4. Now that still makes it a massive show, just not as large as it once was. And I think because of the concentration of both time and the buildings, that the attendance seemed up. It certainly seemed up from last year, and Basel was reporting that a lot more of the jewelry was optimistic, a lot more of the wristwatches were optimistic. Several key brands did not exhibit. At the top of the list, I think, is Movado. I found it very interesting that they weren't there. We reported recently the Invicta Watch Group wasn't there. We don't have a reason, by the way. To my knowledge, they've not come out with that, or as Movado, really, but they just weren't there. Their places in the various halls were filled, but the actual statements to the original brands, why they weren't there, we don't know. In the world of building watch movements, I found it interesting that Soprod didn't exhibit this year when they have exhibited as long as I've been going, and this was my 14th Basel Watch Fair. So in a nutshell, I think that's what was going on. There was still some great excitement, some new brands. We met with Mechanica Grezzo. We've got some fantastic footage that'll be coming out in another show about that, with the artists doing the dials and so on. But right now, let's talk a little bit about what it's like to actually attend. And one of the first things I want to show you is this clip, and that is we stayed down in Lucerne, by the way, just because it looks like Shrek lives there. It's a spectacular Swiss community built around a lake that's got the stone tower out in the middle with a wooden bridge and so on. And every Saturday morning, they have their farmers market. So on the way out to the train heading to the show, we encountered this, and I thought we'd give you a quick look. Check it out. Well, I'm hoping from that video you get a little bit of an idea as to how spectacular of a community that Lucerne is. It's just a thrill to be able to stay in that particular area. It's a little over an hour away by train, and of course that's where we were headed. So once at the show, you get to see a lot of very cool things, and it is something I recommend to every watch guy and girl out there. when you can, try to attend the Basel Watch Fair, because this is on one hand, it's an industry event, if you will, but the general public can buy a ticket and go, and I certainly recommend it. So along those lines, we're now going to step inside and we're going to go to a very exclusive area of the show, and that's where the ultra high end hangs out and some of the most innovative and independents and so on. And Mike Davis is going to give you a really quick walkthrough through one of his favorite brands, MB&F. Check this out.
So one of the things I had to do when in Basel is come see one of my absolute favorite brands, MB&F, Max Buser and Friends, do some of the most incredible timepieces. This is part of what used to be the Dream Factory, which was a completely separate building. Now that they've shrunken everything down, MB&F is over here with some other great brands. Some of the watches that you're going to find over here is, for instance, going to be the Moon Machine 2, which is recently came out. The one next to that is going to be one of my absolute favorites in the fact that they've done the Aquapod here. Huge size case, very much an award-winning configuration. I don't know if we can get video of the actual movement down there in the way that it's being used. And then one of the last ones is going to be one that we actually did one of our articles on, which is going to be the split escapement timepiece. So obviously, great look to all the other brands that they have here that's rolling with what you would consider to be really the Dream Factory style timepieces. The split escapement, when you really are able to zoom in on that, it's an absolutely amazing configuration that they've done on that, which probably shows up in there as well. They're a GPHG award winner as far as best calendar watch. Absolutely stunning timepiece. So just part of what you can do here at Basel World.
Now, among the brands that exhibit in the same area as MB&F is Nordzeitmaschine. And the reason we're not showing you the Nordzeitmaschine footage yet is that we're going much more in depth with them. In fact, Daniel Nabel, who creates every Nordzeitmaschine individually, he gave us 2 interviews, one with myself and the other with Mike on 2 different days. So we're in process of fusing them together. It's in the editing suite now. And that show is actually going to be a feature here at TAW Live, and it'll be obviously in the coming weeks. In fact, let's talk a little bit about that. What you're going to see increasingly as we move forward with TAW Live, or TAW Live, if you will, is we're going to be doing a lot of different segments that we've put together, often in advance, because we're increasingly discovering that we can get our guests a lot faster and a lot more in depth if we offer them the flexibility of shooting outside of what is obviously 10 p.m. East on Friday night. So we're going to be getting into a lot more sort of a segmented thing, so just be aware of that. It's still going to be shot very much with a live attitude, live without a net, and if anything, it's going to bring the better deals out to you guys in greater depth. So just know that moving forward, that's what we're going to do. In fact, tonight is a great example of that. So we're going to get to the Croton exhibition, if you will, the detail about the coin and so on in just a moment. But I want to talk about a couple of other things first. A special shout out to all of you who are new to us. Maybe this is the first time you're watching TAW Live. I'd like to ask, if you haven't done so yet, to please join our email. We're not going to spam you. We hate it too. We're not going to do it. You'll get no more than 1 email a day. But in addition to getting the updates and the daily deals that we put together for you guys, being on that list means that you're going to get early access, and sometimes the only access, to very exclusive deals that we are in process of building for you. And it ranges anywhere from fairly inexpensive brands into fairly opulent brands. So it's a great reason to be a part of that list. And another reason is you are going to have access to a private group that's on Facebook, and they get access to all the deals before anyone else, even the general email. Now, to be clear, you don't have to be in that group if you don't want to. But I think a lot of you are going to want to, and the only way you can do it is to first be on the email list. So please join us. Again, you'll see the information obviously on the screen, and if you don't see it, it's real simple. Just go over to talkaboutwatches.com, and pretty much on any page you'll see an option where you can sign up. And again, we're not going to spam you, and we do not share or sell our list ever, so you're very secure and very safe with Talk About Watches. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is something that we put together some time ago with PayPal Credit, or more specifically with PayPal, and it is PayPal Credit. And what that means is that when you make a purchase, and the purchase has to be $100 or more, but you can total different things together to get to that point if you want. If you qualify, you're going to be able to enjoy the wristwatch that we send you right away, but you don't owe anything for 6 months. And as long as that balance is paid off by the 6 months, you don't get charged any interest. And it's more flexible than the traditional 6-pay that I know a lot of you guys are familiar with. Because here, if you want to skip a month, you can, or you can double down on a month, and there's nothing up front. And it's just a way to make things really flexible and easy. And given that tonight we're going to be talking about 3/9 fine silver, yes, it is true. We absolutely are going to show record low pricing tonight. In fact, we put together a deal that we're very confident the world has never seen. And so in advance, I want to thank Croton for really stepping up and working with us to make sure that this deal can happen. In fact, as I'm looking over here, we can see that already a lot of you guys are starting to take advantage of this. And again, that is because of the email and certainly because of the private Facebook group that I mentioned earlier. So let's go ahead and get into it. Please enjoy our illustrious opening, and then we're going to talk about the 3/9 fine silver American Eagle. And when Croton first came to me with this, I had them repeated a couple of times because this is a deal that is frankly a bit ridiculous, especially if you get into some of the more aggressive packages that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But I want to start again by emphasizing that what you're going to see this evening is solid 3/9 fine silver. Now let's compare that to 14 or 18 karat gold, nowhere near 3/9 fine, which if you don't get the term 3/9 fine, it means it's a very, very pure form of precious metal. How about sterling silver? Sterling silver is about 92.5%. This is way beyond that, 3/9 fine. And it is beginning as 1 ounce because it starts actually as the American Eagle, which of course is the silver dollar. Now, silver dollars have not really been put into circulation in regards to currency. I believe it's around 2011, something like that, but they still make them. And here's what happens. That original planchet becomes the coin. We're going to get into a separate segment here in a second that will illustrate cameras actually inside the mint. We're going to show you how these are made. We're going to show you how the assay test occurred to guarantee the fineness of the silver and so on. But let's just take the coin for the moment. So when they create the coin, they create a finite amount, and then that actually gets sold in packages to roughly about a dozen or so dealers that actually have to be, I'm going to kind of surmise this, but it's approved by Congress. Then from there, it's disseminated out into the collectors. So what we're going to show you today is already sold out. Now you're going to be receiving a 2017. Now in the video, I'm going to head off some emails and text here. In the video, it's going to show 2016. That was available for when we shot the segments, but you're going to get the 2017. Even if you do get a 2016 or 2017, they're all sold out is my point. These were sold out. These coins are always sold out pretty much the moment the dealers get them. We have them, they're available, and then the collectors grab them, and then that's the end of it. So what we have here is a beautiful opportunity because with personal conversation, I can tell you for a fact that when these sell out, there are no more of these to be had. Now, at some point, I'm sure Croton is going to make the 2018, but the 2017, this is it. We got the last of them. Now, there are 3 different color choices, so let's talk about that. There's the natural one, which I think we are calling silver, that has no layering of color at all. It's basically a tone-on-tone silver. Then you've got the one we refer to as black. That's actually more almost like a gunmetal and charcoal color, and that's been applied, as you can see, to the eagle. And then last but not least is the gold, and that's actually a layering of 18 karat gold that has been applied to the eagle. So again, you've got the silver or the black or the gold. Now, if you just want your favorite one, we matched the best deal we could find out there, and that's $149. But then it got even better because we included the shipping. Okay, so we've actually matched and then bettered the deal for the single that we could find out there. But then here's the part that nobody else is doing. If you'll get 2 of these, and it can be any choice, you can get 2 of the silver or 1 black and 1 gold, or whatever, any combination, any 2 of these you can have for just $249. And if you really want to go for it, let's say you want all 3, or maybe you want all 3 black or 1 gold and 2 silver or whatever, any combination, any 3 is only $299. Think about that for a second. That's under $100 in solid 3/9 fine silver. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the construction, and then we're going to get more in depth with our separate video segment. They take the original 1 ounce eagle and it's split with a laser. The obverse, or if you will, the head side, that actually becomes the back of the watch. And I, for one, have championed the sculpted backs of wristwatches for a lot of years. I think it's where a lot of art has been, and I think exhibition backs have almost taken over to the point where you don't get a lot of the sculpted back anymore. Well, this one takes sculpted back to an extreme because it is beautifully crafted, because it is literally from a U.S. mint, so the detail is exquisite, and it is built, not layered, but built from 3/9 fine silver. Now, the reverse side of the coin, or the tail side, that becomes the dial. And that's where you're going to get your silver, or layered in gold if you want, or the black, or, and again, any combination that you want, depending if you want the 1, the 2, or the 3. So keep in mind, the dial is solid 3/9 fine silver. The back is solid 3/9 fine silver. The actual frame, that is done in 3/16 surgical grade steel, and notice how thin this watch is. Very low to the wrist. That's something you want from a dress watch. Quartz movement on the inside, again, chosen because not only the accuracy, but because it's going to be very thin, and it has to be thin to create the watch this thin to allow room for the hands to move above the coin dial and so on. The finished piece is 42 millimeter because there is no bezel. It will actually play much larger. To look at it, in my view, it looks like at least a 44 and maybe more. But it's actually a 42, and that makes sense because the coin itself is a little over 40 millimeter as it is minted. Now, speaking of minting, let's go ahead and take a look. We've got some footage behind the scenes about how these coins are created and how the watch is built as well. So let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back right after and further discuss. So tonight we're going to take a look at coin collecting meeting watch collecting and vice versa. Just like there's fans of wristwatches, there are, of course, fans of coin collecting, and coin collecting predates the collecting of wristwatches by millennia. So the silver dollar is among the American coins that are most consistently collected, and we're going to take a look at one of those, specifically the American Eagle, that has been crafted to form a part of the wristwatch. In this instance, both the dial and the caseback. Now, since this feature is a major part of the story of this wristwatch, it's important to emphasize that these are not facsimiles, they're not pressed out of a mold or anything like that. What you are seeing is a silver dollar that has become the dial of the watch, and the same is true for the back. This is achieved by cutting the coin in half via a laser, and the reverse side of the coin is presented as the watch dial, and the obverse, which of course is the famous Walking Liberty, is presented as the sculpted back of your wristwatch. Now, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed, there isn't a lot of silver dollars flying around in general populace. In fact, the US government hasn't made them for the general population since I believe it was December of 2011. Basically what happens is that the mint will still make them, but they make a very specific allocation, and that is sold directly to collectors from the mint itself, and they build however many, and then they're sold out, and that's it. It's also important to note that we obtained the very last of the 2017s, so when these sell out, there will literally be no more ever made. There'll be a 2018, but no more 2017s. So let's take a look as to how these coins are made. The silver arrives at the mint as blanks, or planchets as they're called. A chemist will put the blank through a series of tests that will include weight, diameter, and hardness. They're even cut in half, and the microstructure is examined. It's also rolled flat via a high-pressure press and tested for alloy composition. Once authenticated, the silver is then moved to trays where the edges are oiled to prevent snagging when going through the press. From there, they're stacked into cassettes and fed into the press, where the creation of the coin now happens automatically. These 3/9 fine silver coins are produced to exacting specification. After final inspection, they are housed in specific official packaging and are sent to approved buyers, of which only about a dozen exist, due to a program set up by the United States Congress. So what Croton has done is taken the obverse, or the heads side of the coin, and they've made that the sculpted back of the watch. The reverse, or the tail side, becomes the dial. So what results from this is literally a 3/9 fine solid silver dial and a 3/9 fine solid silver back that is beautifully sculpted. So let's talk dimensions. The framework of this watch is, of course, in 316L surgical grade steel, and it measures 42 millimeter, but because there's almost no bezel at all, it will actually play substantially larger visually. What Croton ended up having to do to keep this watch very thin, which of course a traditional dress watch should be, is they hollowed out the already half coin so that it would allow for the anchor to occur for the movement while still allowing space for the hands to move around the dial beneath the mineral crystal. The finished work is presented on a classic leather strap. It fits up to about an 8¼ inch wrist, classic tang buckle. No real water resistance to speak of, but this is, after all, a dress watch. It's not designed to go swimming or whatever, so washing your hands, stuff like that, you'll be just fine. So what we have here is a very elegant and captivating dress watch, and this one is visually captivating from both front and back, and a lot of wristwatches, especially dress watches, are not. This one is. But also, this features two major components, the large dial and the entire back of the watch, made from precious metal, and specifically 3/9 fine precious metal. Now, by comparison, 14 karat or 18 karat gold don't approach 3/9 fine. And the obvious comparison would also be to sterling silver. But with sterling silver, you're looking at about 92.5% pure. This, on the other hand, is 3/9 fine, which is far more pure precious metal going on with this example. So in this offer, you have three color options. The first we'll call silver, and that is the coin exactly as it is. You also have the option to have the eagle layered in either black or in genuine gold. So let's talk price. First of all, we're going to match the best deal we could find out there. So if you'd like your choice, any single, it's $149, but we'll top it by including the shipping. But if you want two, and it can be of any color option combination, we'll do that for just $249. And if you want to pick three, and again, any color combination, only $299. Shipping included across the board. This is a huge deal on a wristwatch that features solid precious metal and is also highly collected. Remember, there are no 2017 silver dollars to be had, so when this build sells out, that's it. We know this is the best deal out there. If you have additional questions, please reach us via info@talkaboutwatches.com, and please enjoy your selection of the silver dollar wristwatch. So hopefully that gave you a little bit more of an insight and appreciation as what goes into building not a facsimile but a real coin watch. And again, this is a 42 millimeter finished piece, coin edging appropriately around the sides, and the frame that's 316L steel, but the actual back of the watch is 1/2 of that troy ounce silver dollar that was split with a laser. So that famous Walking Liberty is on the back, forming that in, which I think is just a magnificent watch back, beautifully sculpted, and of course, because it's from a US Mint, the detail is absolutely extraordinary. Not layered, solid 3/9 fine silver. And then the reverse side of the coin, which in this instance is the eagle, that makes up the dial. So you've got a 3/9 fine solid silver dial, 3/9 fine solid silver back. This is a dress watch that every watch guy and girl and every coin collector, not to mention those of you that collect Americana and so on, are going to absolutely love at unprecedented pricing. So let me go over that again. You can choose any one of the three color choices, which are silver or the black or the gold, at $149. Now that was the best deal we could find out there, but we're going to do better by having shipping included when you reserve yours through TAW. If you want two, and here's the beauty, it could be any two. You can get one silver, one black, or two golds, or any combination. That is only $249, bringing the cost per watch down dramatically. But the one I most recommend is three. And again, with all of these, it can be any color option. So you can get one of each, or you can get all three silver, or two black and a gold, or whatever. $299. All of these, shipping is included at $299. It obviously brings the cost of the 3/9 fine down to under $100. Remember earlier, I referenced using the interest-free payment program that we call PayPal Credit. It gives you 6 months of interest-free, also with no payments. And if you pay it off before the 6 months, there's no interest charged of any kind. It's a very flexible and a smart way to go. I hope you'll enjoy these watches. We really enjoyed doing the research and putting this together. A special thanks to the team out at Croton that made this happen. And I'm going to sign off for the time being. I will let you know as I do that we're in process of building additional live programs that are going to include Skywatch, they're going to include eGuard, they're going to include Dietrich, And as I mentioned at the start of tonight's program, we're working on a very special event that will include Nord Zeitmaschine. So we've got some great stuff in the works for you guys. Do stick around, and we'll be back real soon with another edition of Talk About Watches Live. Be well, everybody.